The Mean One is a Christmas horror film that asks the question of, what if Cindy Lou Who's encounter with the Grinch went far differently? Instead of her healing his heart, she hurt him instead, and put him down a murderous route for stealing lives as well as Christmas. We follow Cindy, played by Crystal Martin, years after the original incident. That incident claimed the life of her mother and caused the Grinch, known mostly as the Mean One here, to spiral into being no more than a murderous monster. Cindy and her dad, a man filled with life played by Flip Cobbler, are going back to the house where it all took place, all in an attempt to take her trauma by the horns with a little exposure therapy. Cindy, understandably so, has PTSD, jumping at shadows and having triggers as she's back in her hometown. They didn't handle this aspect too well, honestly, but it wasn't bad either, just underutilized, I think is the word I'm looking for. Cindy is made out to be crazy from the authority figures in town. The sheriff, the mayor, nobody listens, nobody cares. Nobody besides a deputy that just transferred into the town named Burke. Played by Chase Mullins, he's Jewish and doesn't celebrate Christmas. In fact, the entire town doesn't, so he fits in nicely. He's awkward but caring, and since he wasn't around during the first incident, he's unbiased and open-minded as well. A decent sense of normalcy to keep Cindy grounded. The sheriff, Peter Hooper, played by Eric Baker, is more of an anti-hero than anything else. He may seem uncaring and suspicious, but he never strays from the established fact that he cares for the town and its residents above all else. He does what he has to in order to keep them alive, and seems to genuinely feel bad for Cindy, as well as understands the pain she experiences throughout the movie. He refers to her as Kiddo a couple of times, referencing how he remembers her years ago when her mother was killed, and still sees her as that scared little girl. Even if he's not necessarily likable, he has endearing moments and solid sarcasm to back it all up. The mayor, however, played by Amy Schumacher, is hateable from the moment she pops on screen. A narcissistic bimbo that thinks she knows what's best for the town and the people inhabiting it, when in fact she's thinking more of herself than anyone else. She sees herself as some hero that's always justified in her actions, when all she truly does is annoy others, twist justice, and hide from that reality. The last character I want to bring up before we get to the Mean One anyway, is a drunk named Doc, played by John Bigham. He lost his wife to the Mean One years back, and hasn't been sober a day since. He hunts the monster every moment he gets, and is haunted by its memory, so he drinks it away. He's a really likable character, easy to sympathize with, while also being the second crutch needed for Cindy. Burke may be the normalcy needed to keep her grounded to the truth of the town, but Doc helps her realize she's not as crazy as they make her out to be, or that if she is, she isn't alone, helping balance out two sides of herself that she struggles with balancing alone. Now for the Mean One, played by the actor for Art the Clown, David Howard Thornton. The Mean One is expressive but not nearly enough, never speaking actual words. Body language expresses all of his emotions, and the actor does so well, reminiscent of Jim Carrey's performance at times. Sadly, they just don't utilize him enough, not leaning into the very thing that would make this a memorable horror comedy, wasting a talent that they were blessed to have. The design of the monster is good with some standout moments, don't get me wrong. From moving around by scurrying on his fingers to the head tilt, they had a lot of promise shown in a few scenes, just not enough to truly separate the Mean One from any other B-movie monster. It's wasted potential, and it's such a shame. Also, Max isn't in this movie. I'm not sure on why that is, but besides maybe a stuffed animal that could have been representing him, there's not even a mention. The makeup and practical effects were also low budget, noticeably so at times, but never too distracting. They made an honorable effort here, with dismembered body parts, cuts, gashes, bodies, all looking rather decent for what they are. The scenes that led to them left a lot to be desired though, with far too many cuts that left too much to the imagination. It was hard to figure out what was even going on sometimes, with nauseating cuts that were probably done to mask the budget, but really hurt the end product, especially during the fight scenes where seeing them play out was what mattered, but instead the camera cutting mixed with shaky cam had it almost impossible to do so. It wasn't unwatchable, and some moments were better than others, but man does it drag it down. At the end of the day, this is a fun, goofy, turn-off-your-brain horror film that takes itself far too seriously. It doesn't quite know what tone it's going for at times, with the comedy not being prominent enough to make it a laugh fest, but popping up just enough to make it feel out of place. Its idea, twisting the original story, is greatly helped by the narration, with whoever doing it being one of the best I've heard in an indie film in a long while. Literally the perfect narrator, 10 out of 10. I do recommend this as a horror film to watch, with it being unique enough to be worthwhile for a one-time viewing, and having enough Grinchness this Christmas to feel respectful to the original story. Just try not to think about it too much if you do watch. Let yourself sit back and enjoy something and give your brain a break. If you can't do that though, and B-movies aren't your thing, then you'll know your limits of what you may enjoy, and this may not be it. Would you watch it, and what Christmas horror do you recommend? Let me know in the comments below, and for more news, reviews, and whatever we choose, stay tuned to Nerdsfeed. Have a great day.